1 minute to say.
Good job.
Did you play on Sunday?
I did not.
Neither did you.
No, I
was thinking about it.
did you hear how they did it?
I heard they lost.
Yes.
It's every time I'm gone.
I managed to like, really bad summer.
You got some
You did get
burns.
sunburned.
So, and Sunday it was really hurting.
Light industrial. All rise for pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do a roll call. Alderman Lewis. Here. Alderman Wilson.
Here.
Alderman Ode.
Here.
Alderman Bell.
Here.
Alderman Volker is absent. And Alderman Plank is absent. Can I get a motion to approve of July 18th and July 25th, 2023 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Special meetings, I have none. Appointments to boards and commissions, none. Scheduled public comments, none. Just a reminder, if you have public comments, make sure they're into the city clerk by Wednesday before the meeting. Public hearing, none. Introductions and first readings, none. Old business, none. Move right along. Right. New business, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a backhoe. Staff report, please.
Should have all of it in front of you. We put out proposals for the new backhoe. And storage building.
Backhoe first, backhoe first, Curtis, just that one. Just the backhoe, we'll move on to the other ones after that.
We put out proposal for a backhoe and we got 3 bids. We had 115,000 in the budget and Case come in as low bid for 114,950.
Any questions?
And then we put out a proposal for a new 12 by 24
Just
storage
wait,
building.
Curtis, just wait.
They vote one at a time. They vote one at a time.
I know, no problem, first time.
Where's salary for these?
So you said there was 115 in the budget?
We can spend that extra $50.
I'm sure we'll need gas.
Get a fresh tank.
Can we get a motion to approve resolution authorizing the purchase of a backhoe?
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Alderman Old,
Aye.
Alderman Bell,
Aye.
Alderman Lewis.
Aye.
And Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on. Resolution authorizing the purchase of a shed. Now you go, Curtis.
Moving on. Put out a proposal for a 12 by 24 portable storage building, and we got 3 bids. We had 10,000 in the budget, and the low one come in at 83.62.
And this is going over
At the water bill.
with the water bill.
Any questions for Curtis? Can I get a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the purchase of a shed?
I'll make that motion.
I have a second. Alderman Lewis.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Old.
Aye.
And Alderman Bell.
Aye.
Moving on, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for services with McGuire Iron Incorporated for the water tower inspection and maintenance.
And you can see we've only got 2 bids on that one. We had 20,000 in there, and the low bid come in at 10,180.
Why is there such a difference?
That's why I was like,
between
what?
the two bids?
Yeah.
Well, these people's been after Ashland's business for years, and he said, I'm gonna get it this year one way or the other if I have to do it for free.
Do they have to drain his tank to do it? No.
Scuba gear.
No kidding.
All right, can we get any other questions for Curtis? Can I get a motion to approve authorizing the mayor to execute a contract service with McGuire Iron Incorporated for water tower inspection and maintenance?
that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
Alderman Lewis.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Old.
Aye.
And Alderman Bell.
Aye.
Moving on, a resolution for the Board of Aldermen of Ashland, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute the contract document of Missouri Petroleum Products C LLC for the chip and seal street repair, South Henry Clay. That's quick.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of the board, before you is a resolution regarding a contract for chip seal street resurfacing in South Henry Clay Boulevard. This will extend from the roundabout at Broadway down to the south city limits on South Henry Clay. Staff, along with the assistance of Boone County Road and Bridge, spent the last week preparing the surface, doing some millings and milling out some of the street heaves that we've been experiencing with the heat, along with doing some permanent patches of problem spots. This was a project that was planned in the FY24 budget. It was lumped in with all street repairs, so along with the mill and overlay project, but it had a tentative budget of $100,000. We did run a competitive bid process a few weeks back, and we only received one bid at that time. That bid was disqualified because it did not abide by the bid specifications, did not have the required bid bond, and it was a incomplete submittal. At that time, we then reached out to Missouri Petroleum, who has multiple contracts within the region, Boone County, Cole, Callaway, Fulton, New Mexico, Columbia, Jeff City. They really kind of handle all the chip seal resurfacing in this area. Done work for Ashland in the past and done good work.
When will it start? When will it end?
So it's tentatively, it'll be complete this month in August. I don't have a hard start date yet because, well, the rain is certainly throwing some delays their way, but they're going to finish up Boone County and Cole County, and then they're gonna come back up from Cole County to take care of this one.
Will there be a problem since we're pretty much using Henry Clay as the detour for Main Street? Is that gonna?
We discussed that. The contractor's confident that it won't be that big of an issue. I've explained that it's imperative to get this complete prior to the beginning of school at the end of August. Looking at your traffic numbers throughout the day, we really didn't have much of an issue last week when we did infrequent shutdowns and closures of Henry Clay to complete the milling work. Chip seal resurfacing, one of the interesting aspects of that is that the moment that they put down the tack coat and then they put the rock over top of that, and then they start rolling it in, and it's usable within an hour of being complete. So it's a pretty quick process. I think that it'll be a one-day project once they get in town and get mobilized and have everything lined up. And
You can do lane by lane.
yes, sir, they'll build one end to the other.
Yeah, keep it open.
And will it be just the 2 lanes, or will they go over into the shoulders too?
Just the 2 lanes for now. The issue with the shoulders is that the base underneath, if you get back into the history of it, when South Henry Clay was widened to create those shoulders, the concrete base that was underneath for old Highway 63 was not expanded upon. There was also the existing concrete rollback curb and gutter that was not cut out or ground down. So that's why you can see the line, particularly on the southbound lane, about a foot in from where the lane ends. There's that crack line because that's right over that curb and gutter where the material's thin. You'll also notice on the northbound side where that lane ends is where that curb and gutter is, and you'll see where it starts to blow out because of thin spots and shoulder parking. Moving forward, one of the projects that we anticipate working on in the future, once we acquire our milling head, is to go back and start working on those edges, bringing them down, and then building that up and creating asphalt shoulders the full length of South Henry Clay Boulevard on both sides. But that's going to be a slow project because most of that will be completed in-house and section by section.
Is there any grants available for stuff like that?
It's all federal highway money, so it
Yes.
trickles down very
Very slowly.
slowly and complicated.
Yep, there's That's exactly right. It's trying to pursue these grants, long-term vision where we have for South Henry Clay Boulevard is particularly with the new road, the sales tax for road repairs improvements. We want to build up a fund to where we have enough in the bank to go out and chase one of these multi-million-dollar Fed highway grants to do a complete overhaul of South Henry Clay from the roundabout to south city limits. At that point, we would be talking sidewalks, stormwater improvements, lighting, possibly some median barriers. I've said this several times, but a 2-lane version of Scott Boulevard in Columbia, if you're familiar. Also, someone's pointed out Capitol Ave, but I'm not particularly familiar with Jeff City as well as in Columbia. But long term, we want to get to where South Henry Clay Boulevard is going to be really the one that we can hang our hat on. I mean, that's where we get our namesake from. It's our most utilized city owned and maintained roadway. And, we certainly need to do something with it. The chip seal before you, it is a Band-Aid. This is to hold it together until we can get back to the drawing board to try and make some long-term improvements on that roadway. But failing to do this, we're gonna be looking at a couple $100,000 mill and overlay if we don't do something pretty quick.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for James? Can I get a motion to approve a resolution of the Board of Aldermen, Ashland, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute contract documents with Missouri Petroleum Products LLC for ship and seal servicing on Henry Clay Boulevard?
I'll make a motion.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Alderman Bell,
Aye.
Alderman Holt,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
And Alderman Lewis.
Aye.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a supplemental agreement, number 1, with Great River Engineering relating to the Perry Avenue extension.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution before you this evening is regarding the Perry Avenue Road Extension Project. We have our first change order, supplemental agreement for this project, and it is regarding increased preliminary engineering expenses. There was kind of a snafu here between our engineer firm that's doing this project and with the Mr. Conway leaving. There was we looked at some cost saving measures initially out of concerns for what these bids were going to come in at when the construction pricing was through the roof. So we looked at some different alternate options, bringing that roadway down to 27-foot width instead of the 32. Looking at, we did another change based off of
Sidewalk, water line.
the sidewalks and water line is add alternates. The other one that I'm thinking is regarding the temporary easement. We anticipated having easement. One of the landowners decided that that was not going to be his preference, so we had to go back to the drawing board and move some things around, adjust some of those designs so that we can keep those grading limits off of their property altogether. And unfortunately, that has expenses.
I thought we had the easements through there.
We did, but then we didn't.
We didn't actually need them, they were just a buffer, so we reworked, as he said, the grading limits to make sure that that was accounted for.
One thing that I'll point out is, excuse me, that this $10,000 expense comes out of the preliminary engineering budget. And while that is not a reimbursable expense from MoDOT, it is a creditable expense. And what that means is, in a roundabout way, they're still gonna share the 50% of this cost because they adjust the other sections of their contributions to increase by $5,000. So half of this expense will come out of city funds, the other half will come out of MoDOT in a roundabout way. It's really just which pot it's in until the end of the project.
Other questions? Can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a supplemental agreement, number 1, with Great River Engineering relating to the Perry Avenue extension?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Alderman Lewis? Aye. Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Holt? report. Just got one thing. What, have we had anything on next site lately, Kyle?
Yeah, they actually just, I want to say Friday or over the weekend, updated some of the statistics that they have available. So I need to go on there and take a look at those and see how that has changed from last year, you know, the customer counts and all that. So that's on my list to take a look at. Hopefully prior to the SBDC meeting next week is kind of my goal. It's on my list for this week.
Is this our last year with them? All right, that's my report. Thank you, sir. City Administrator's report.
A couple items, so I know I had sent out an email on this already, but we did receive from Missouri DNR ARPA some lead service line mitigation money, so that's $218,000. Part of that will be in the form of a grant, the other part will be a five-year zero interest loan to make sure that we can do some lead service line inventory and remediation, so that's something that's an EPA requirement that we do. So we've kind of been chasing funding for that, and we're thankful to get this grant. So we'll keep working on that. We have to have the funds spent by next October, so there's a standardized RFP process that we'll have to go through to find somebody to come in and do that work for us. That's more than enough money in that grant to execute the entire project, so more to follow on that one. Staff met with Justin Aldred yesterday, the Southern District Commissioner for Boone County, to talk about Boone County's ARPA funding and the city's grant application. Not a whole lot came out of that, just wanted to talk over our frustrations with the application process and our desire to see not only the City of Ashland but other entities that applied receive award. Obviously, we're thankful that the Optimist Club and the school received some grant funding, but there were other applications that came out of not only Ashland but Southern Boone that were not selected. So made those concerns known. I'm sure everyone has looked at the list. So I mean, they only awarded 4.2% of funding towards infrastructure projects, and that was roughly 2.4% of all of the infrastructure grant applications they received. So it's very clear that infrastructure was not the funding priority for this round. They do have a second round coming. Justin said they're withholding some denial letters in hopes that they can work some of those projects into the next funding cycle, but we'll be revisiting that grant application and also obviously looking at some other projects that could be potentially eligible funding based off of what received funding in this round.
Did he indicate what their funding priorities were gonna be in the next round, or?
Thank you.
Basically, everyone that had an infrastructure grant is very disappointed, so hopefully some infrastructure. We're in the process of conducting a building security audit with all of our key fobs, just to make sure past employees have their key fobs deactivated, or the ones that we know are no longer in rotation are deactivated. So I went through the bank employees today. I'll start working my way down our staff list, and just kind of cleaning up that roster and trying to stay on top of it. I sent out an email reminder today about the Missouri Municipal League Annual Conference. Please let us know if you would like to attend so we can get you registered. If we don't have any volunteers, I'll try and see if I can fit it into the wife's work schedule and at least go down for a day. School Teacher Appreciation Luncheon, so I sent out that email. It's August 24th. We're going to try and have a pretty good city staff showing from the 12:45 slot. I was down at the fire department yesterday, and I invited them to come down and participate as well, since they didn't have it on their radar. County is evaluating the implementation of Senate Bill 190, which is a assessed valuation freeze for senior citizens. So basically, whatever their assessed value is, when that's implemented, they won't see an increase. It's obviously great for senior citizens, but the county is asking for us to provide an analysis on what that would do for city tax revenues. So we went ahead and gave them that. It doesn't have a large impact in year one. Basically 1% of our revenue will be lost due to that valuation freeze. But as we progress, we can assume that number will go up. I did a quick 10-year analysis of that, and just using some basic 3% increase assumptions and things like that. And by year 10, it's more like 6 to 7% of our annual revenue on the general fund. So still not quite a substantial hit, but when the majority of those general fund dollars go towards public safety, it is a concern. Steal some thunder, since Darla doesn't get any thunder for this meeting, but property tax hearing will be next meeting. Darla's already working on that public hearing, and we'll have everything for that. Just as a reminder, as part of The general sales tax ballot measure in April, we did agree to reduce that personal and real estate property tax from 24 cents to 18 cents per $100 of value, so that'll be accounted for when we set this levy after the public hearing next meeting. We'll also have, since Shelley's not here, the audit presentation will be next meeting as well, so that's all I have.
City Attorney's report.
Just very briefly, you should go to the MML meeting in September. I'm speaking. The lecture is Good Cop, Bad Cop on the Officers' Bill of Rights. are we gonna do a close tonight?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll have some stuff for close. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to Board of Aldermen, Alderman O,
No report.
Alderman Bell,
No report.
Alderman Wilson,
No report.
and Alderman Lewis.
No report.
Now we're gonna open up to general comments, public, from the public, please.
Hi, I am Rebecca Hunault. I live here in Ashland. I have 3 kiddos, 2 of them go to school here.
What was the last name, sorry?
Hunault, Hunolt.
Thank you.
Kristen Colbert was at the last meeting. Unfortunately, she was not able to attend tonight. She had asked about the enforcement of City Code 23 regarding the entertainment that proceeded at the Ashland Pride Festival in July. The response she was given was that the board would need to speak to the city attorney in accordance to the codes. To our knowledge, there has not been a response from the board or the city attorney regarding this matter, as Kristen has emailed numerous times requesting this information. So we are asking again if this can be something that is discussed.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to give a brief response. So the situation is, and I should tell you, the concern about drag shows, and I use that term generically, is something that a number of cities that we represent deal with. I have personally researched that link. I have a second law degree in constitutional law. And basically there are 3 obstacles to a city trying to regulate that. The first, adult entertainment can be regulated by a city, mostly in the form of zoning. But adult entertainment is almost entirely defined as nudity. Strip clubs, shops that sell pornography, that is the defining characteristic of adult entertainment. And a person dressed in a different outfit isn't nude. It does not meet the legal definition of adult entertainment. So to the extent that a city has the capacity to regulate that, the kind of conduct we're talking about doesn't fit. Cities have attempted to shoehorn drag shows and similar behavior into the definition of adult entertainment, and that has failed. Most notably in the state of Tennessee, the state took action, it had been struck down on appeal. We have other cities that my firm represents that are actively pushing this. We have very little optimism that that will succeed. It's not absolutely crazy, but we have absolutely no reason to think that this is gonna work. The second problem, to the extent that you think about a commercial enterprise putting on a drag show, you have to pay money to go in and see an entertainment, you might say. That's quite a bit different than what we're talking about at a Pride Festival. That's not a commercial enterprise, that's not a business, they're not obliged to follow our zoning and regulatory practices as it pertains to commercial speech. And third, and perhaps most significantly, I would suppose the folks there would argue that they're engaged in political speech, which has the highest protection under the First Amendment. Extremely difficult to regulate, extremely difficult to limit or prohibit. I understand why someone might imagine it to be objectionable, and I wasn't there to see it. But as I understand it, the crux of the complaint, there was a pride rally in a public park, and there was this conduct that people were doing that they didn't like. There is hardly a better example of a public forum than a public park for these kinds of activities. The famous cases are, for example, about Nazis or the Ku Klux Klan. I'm not comparing those folks to these people, but the idea that something is objectionable or unpopular is not a valid reason to restrict or regulate this. In those circumstances, you have an extremely high level of personal expressive freedom that the government has a very difficult time regulating. It is my unequivocal opinion that attempting to regulate this kind of behavior is not productive for the city. I don't wish to overstate it, but I mean, there's a 1% chance that a ordinance based on these matters would survive judicial scrutiny. We would find ourselves sued, and I believe the city's priorities will lie elsewhere. And to be clear, this is not an Ashland opinion. This is the opinion that I have given to other cities that have similar views, and I believe this is a national sort of debate. I would not be at all surprised if this legal matter went before the U.S. Supreme Court in the next couple of years, and they may well decide to change things. But I'm highly confident that today, a city is going to be very, very hard pressed to prohibit, regulate, anything of that nature, this sort of conduct in a park. It also would be difficult if it were in an entertainment venue. But that is my official legal opinion. So,
Thank you.
you bet.
Can I also make a statement? You don't have to be at the podium, but I just think on this issue, because we have gotten a number of, or we've gotten some emails on this, and I would just say, like, on the timing issue, in my mind, I think it's not a time, I don't accept the criticism for the timing. Anyone who's watched the news knows that we've had, a public safety issue, that is immediate, that has required a lot of staff attention, significant staff attention, that is an immediate need. In my mind, this Pride Fest thing, the next time it comes up is a year from now. So the fact that, it hasn't gotten done in a week, I think I really don't accept the criticism, because it has been a really tough week for a lot of folks or tough couple of weeks for people in and around the city. They've been working really hard. And so on my list of priorities, it wasn't up there. And I think, I hope people would understand that. I think on the other issue I have is, if every time a citizen raises a complaint, we have to have an attorney write an opinion about it. I mean, that's our taxpayer dollars that aren't going to our roads or to our police, that we're having to pay to an attorney to respond to a complaint that frankly has been responded to in the past already. And then I would also say, for a solution, I would say to anybody who doesn't like an event that's happening, I think the best solution, rather than trying to shut an event down, you could have a competing event. Why don't you organize a community event that has all the things that you want to go to, put it wherever you want, and do it on top of that event. If that's what, and then people can choose your event to go to, and you can have your event there. And I think that probably is the solution that I think they should be suggesting to people, and that way, I think that's the constitutional and most appropriate solution in this instance, because I agree with our city attorney that if we try to take action against a specific group, we're going to be in hot water. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Other comments? Any other comments from the public staff? No? We'll close that out. Can I get a motion to vote to go into closed session pursuant RSMO chapter 610.021 to discuss Article 3 and 1?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Owen?
Aye.
And Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Everyone go closed session.
Something
It is.
Nothing? Nothing to report? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go home.